Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy Friday. Let me actually get my comments pulled up. Oh, what's up, Tyler? How are you how are you all doing on this Friday evening? I'll give everybody a couple minutes to get loaded in. And after that, I'll probably just start rambling about stuff and things. So, yeah. But yeah, in the meantime, let me know if everything sounds good, all that type of stuff. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of talk about what's been going on in the crypto market today. I was kind of thinking about making a video about this anyway, and so I thought maybe I'd try to live stream it, see if it went well, you know, that type of stuff. See if it was more fun to kind of do live. Also, we'll have some Q&A. We can answer some questions that any of you guys have. If you have any burning crypto questions that you want to get addressed and talk through live, then we can go through and do that as well. So. Oh, music is a little loud. Okay. I can like hardly hear it on my side. So thank you for the comment. Let's do like that. Oh, nice. Well, thanks for coming over and taking a watch, Paul. I would, but unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't. Well, I guess if I got the like pro version of StreamYard, I guess I could do that. But yeah, can't do that currently. All right, well, yeah, people are starting to load in, so I'll just kind of start loading some stuff up and just rambling about things. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, things like that, I do want it to be a little bit more like interactive, which is part of the reason I wanted to do a live. So if you guys do have any questions, anything, just drop those in. I will try and keep half an eye on the chat just in case something comes in. We can talk about that. Starting out though, let's just kind of check out how things are looking within the crypto market and go from there. So yeah, first off, obviously we can see on the day things not looking particularly good. Obviously we've got a couple things going up here and there. Onda's been doing particularly well over the past, I guess, like recent past, particularly compared to the rest of the market, which is good. We've seen the thing that's funny to me is I feel like every time I look at crypto bubbles, Trump is just down only. So okay, it's because it is down only. Well, that's good. Let's even see how it looks in the week. Okay, yeah, so it had its big spike and then yeah, basically just down only from there. That makes me feel better because basically every time I look at it, it's like down at 5 to like 20%. So kind of interesting. Still almost $6 billion in market cap though. Kind of wild if you ask me. Going around, take a look at some other stuff. Got, I think this is KuCoin. The thing that's been kind of weird is like exchange tokens have done pretty well this cycle. Like BGB's done very, very well. KuCoin is up here now and again. Kind of interesting. Jupiter looks like it's starting its run up for Jupuary potentially. It'll be interesting to kind of see how that airdrop ends up working out. What's up, Doc? Doc and I, we're actually going to be doing a video tomorrow. I'll probably be posting it like tomorrow afternoon ish. So you guys should wait for that. That'll be fun. I'm excited to do that. Let's see, Paul. Yeah, Trump is so volatile. You need to watch it. Yes, you do. I feel like that's kind of the nature of like most meme coins. I mean, if we look at like even like see here with SPX, Fartcoin, like a lot of these are very, very volatile. Even let's just look. Yeah. Dog with Hap down kind of horrendous on the month. Fartcoin probably something similar. Actually, it's up on the month. That's good. But yeah, I mean, this is like, I feel like so many of these coins are just super heavily manipulated and they're like meant to just wash profits out of retail. That's kind of my opinion on there. It's just, there's just a lot of wild stuff that happens with these. See, same type of thing. I mean, honestly, I should think about this. I was actually, Tyler and I, we were talking about on our channel or on Tyler's channel yesterday, we were doing a live and we were talking about grid trading. I wonder how grid trading some of these meme coins would actually return. Obviously in the long run, if they can't hold their value, it's not going to return particularly well, but I might have to look into that a little bit and see how that goes. So yeah, otherwise you can see just kind of generally a down day in the market. Maybe I'll go on a tangent and talk a little bit about virtuals because I've got a video that should be coming out maybe tomorrow morning. I might save it for Sunday morning as well, talking a little bit about kind of updating the virtuals ecosystem, a lot of that type of stuff. So things looking kind of decent there. Let's continue along. Look at, I guess, not a whole lot going on in this one. Actually, let's take a look at DeFi Llama, because I would like to actually take some time to talk about it. I feel like whenever I do a video, I'm always like talking about something specific in DeFi Llama, and I can't really just talk about DeFi Llama generally. On DeFi Llama, one thing that I think is pretty interesting, we can see Solana now second. I mean, super, super far behind Ethereum. Still not even close. It is kind of interesting to see, though, that like Ethereum did peak at over 100 billion in TVL and down almost 40% from that. So things still not... Ethereum's in a weird position. I'm interested to kind of see how Ethereum grows. There's a ton of pessimism in the market regarding Ethereum. I don't think we've seen it make the moves, or at least I personally haven't seen it make the moves that I thought it could make. Kind of going into this cycle, it's been pretty underwhelming overall. So that's a little bit interesting. But I mean, if you look at Ethereum by any metric, I mean, fees, revenue, any of that type of stuff, kind of well ahead of pretty much everything else that we see going on in the market. So if we look at Solana, same type of thing, doing actually really well on fees, though. I will say, Tyler and I also talked kind of about the whole Trump situation on our live stream yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago. I can't remember. This week's been a long week, but say what you want. Like with the whole Trump coin situation, the winner of the entire Trump coin situation was Solana. I mean, Solana has just been doing crazy stuff. When you look, obviously TVL has been huge. Volume also just been absolutely ridiculous. Because even if you look, obviously there's that huge spike. This was kind of, let's actually zoom this in a bit. There's that huge spike from when like Trump took off. But even still, if we look, like the lows that we're seeing here is still about double what we saw even from the highs back in like the middle of November, when things kind of popped off. And even there, we saw a 2, 3, 4x move to the upside. So, I mean, the growth on Solana, pretty impressive just generally. So I'm very interested to see kind of how Solana continues to do this run. But as far as like from a fundamental analysis perspective, the things that I'm like looking for in terms of like generating value, Solana looking very, very nice. So quite the turnaround when we think about, some of the FTX days, Solana going down from like $260 down to like $8, and then coming basically all the way back. So really interesting there. Let's see. Rebecca. All right. Yes. We can talk about this real quick, Rebecca. I think this is a good question. Maybe we'll come back to DeFi Llama here in a little bit, talk a lot about some of these others kind of further down the chain. Actually, let's just look at Sui right now. You had a question about Sui. Let's take a look. I do talk about Sui TVL. We can see Sui TVL has not really done a whole lot of anything too special. If we look back from like the middle of November, it's about 1.68 billion. It's sitting about 1.79 right now. It did peak barely over 2 billion. So a little bit of movement one direction or the other. But I mean, this picture looks a lot different than like this type of picture. Obviously, a lot of this was due to price appreciation more than anything else. One thing that we are seeing, though, that I will say is a good thing for Sui, aside from TVL, is stable coins. Because, again, if any of you have seen my videos, I look very, very hard at stable coins, just because this is kind of an indirect metric of the health of the network. If you ask me, nobody's going to be storing stable coins on a network where there's no reason to store stable coins, right? And so the fact that we're seeing this grow means, at least kind of somewhat by approximation, again, it's not like an exact metric, but at least by somewhat approximation, that there are more people who are wanting to hold their money on Sui for some reason, right? And generally that reason is probably because it's actually useful and there's reasons to be there. So that's looking pretty good. Again, if we look at volume looking pretty good. We haven't seen too much growth, again, from this kind of like really strong move to the upside. It's kind of stayed, I would say, flat-ish. So we're kind of seeing like some of that growth taper off on Sui. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that's probably impacting price a little bit. I think there's a lot of people who pay very close attention to this type of stuff, as they should, rightfully. Because, I mean, we saw something similar in Solana. I mean, when we saw the ridiculous spike in volume and fees and revenue and all that type of stuff on Solana, that's when we saw Solana just do a super like God candle almost up to like 300 and then kind of move back down. So, you know, these metrics, even though there's a lot of people like in retail and stuff that maybe don't know too much about them, just given what we see kind of mirroring price movement, this is very, very closely watched, in my opinion, by a lot of some of the more like sophisticated investors. And obviously a lot of those sophisticated investors are going to have more money to throw around, meaning that they're actually going to like probably move the chart a little bit more than they would otherwise. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there, Rebecca. We can actually go and look at some technical analysis as well. I actually have it loaded up on BTCC. So I will say, if you guys watched my video yesterday, I did take a SUI trade. Was taking a long here, a leveraged long, expecting a bounce out of this zone. Obviously, we didn't see that. As I've mentioned several times before, when I make these types of trades, I will take very, very tiny trades. I'm talking like 0.25%, 0.5%, something incredibly tiny as like total size of my portfolio. And I'll usually do like a pretty aggressive long, essentially expecting to get liquidated. But it's one of those where it's like, you know, you either lose, you know, a very, very, very nominal amount of your portfolio, which you're expecting to do, or realistically, you're probably expecting a bounce. You're expecting at least to make it to the top of this, which it kind of did, but I don't know. I was actually looking for a return back to this trend line, because that's usually when we see a break. Sometimes we can see a return and pump back in, or an actual departure and kind of a bounce back off. We haven't really seen any of that yet. I do think it's maybe a possibility that we come back and see that. Again, who knows for sure. But that's kind of the play I was trying to make. If we would have seen that play actually work out, probably would have returned like 150 to 250% roughly. So definitely worth like the risk to reward, in my opinion. As long as you win more than you lose, you know, go figure, right? But so that was one that obviously it didn't end up playing out, which I'm totally fine with, because it was a very, very like minimal amount of money. Also, this is just my demo trading account. I just kind of take trades to like kind of take trades on stuff that I talk about to see kind of where it goes. Obviously didn't work out, so it's fine, and I'm not really like losing sleep over it anyway. From a technical perspective on SUI, I don't like it, because we've just broken through this like zone. I'm expecting we probably make it back down to this zone. However, we are on the bottom of the Bollinger Band, so there is maybe the possibility that we potentially wick back up. But at least right now, I would say SUI showing like general forms of weakness, because as I mentioned in my video as well, actually let's blow this up a little bit so you guys can see more. As we talked about in my video, like it's been following this trend line. You could basically even make the argument since like the beginning of September. Obviously, we saw a little bit of a break here and then we came back. This would have actually turned out to be a really great time to get in, because we actually saw outsized returns here through this break. Again, potentially a little bit of a fake out from like markets and people trying to manipulate things. I don't actually know if that was the case, if that's just kind of how it played out. Similar types of things here. We've broken off of this trend line, which again, we've been following for several months, if you kind of agree with what I'm saying here. And then we're kind of maybe returning back to the trend line, and then, maybe, right? Or the trend's just broken. So either way, not really a great place to be on the SUI chart right now. Again, look at the chart. I mean, it's done very, very well. So I don't think that this is something like, it's not the end of SUI or anything like that. So I'm pretty confident that, we'll probably see a bounce. But again, when you're trading leverage, being directionally correct is not good enough. You need to do a little bit better than that. So that's why I'm probably not going to be touching SUI for a while, because it could go up. It also could go down, right? And so that when you don't really have a super high level of conviction, I just kind of stay away from it generally. So, that's kind of what we're looking at on SUI. Overall, still pretty happy with it. As I have mentioned, this is like my PSA that I make every single time regarding SUI. Let's actually go back to CoinGecko to look at this. If we look at SUI, it is only 30% diluted, which means we've got a $12 billion market cap, but fully diluted, we do have about a almost $42 billion market cap. So with that being the case, that means that there is the potential for a ridiculous downward play, or at least selling pressure, as we go into a bear market, and there's not going to be much buying pressure anyway. Again, there's no guarantees in life. It could just stay up only. We don't know for sure, but I highly, highly doubt it. I'm almost certain of the fact that we will see SUI come down, and we'll see it come down hard. When though, and how high it gets before we get there, I have no idea. I mean, obviously the fundamentals and the stats on Sui are looking really good. I would actually say they even look better than Solana's at that point in time where Solana was, like in the previous bull market, right? And so it potentially could have a Solana-esque type of situation. Again, if we saw that, that would be, I think Solana hit about 60 to 70 billion. So, you know, that would be what, 5 or 6x from here. And then we'd see it go down probably like 90 or 95%. And then, you know, we'd obviously see it make that return back to the upside again, if it does follow Solana. So anyway, that's what I've got as far as Sui is concerned. If you guys have any, like, if you got any further questions there, Rebecca, just let me know. Paul, the market is so bearish. 100%. Yeah, the market is incredibly bearish on Ethereum. I don't exactly, like, I understand the argument as to why, but I still don't really quite understand it. Quick shout out to Aunt Lynn. Aunt Lynn, very nice to see you. I actually generally don't do lives. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I kind of didn't. I didn't really want to make a YouTube video for this afternoon, so I was like, I'll just do a live. Generally, actually, I prefer lives. I just like talking to people, answering questions, sometimes just sitting and talking to a camera with no human interaction for 15 or so minutes. It's obviously it's fine. Like I do it a lot and it's not that bad, but sometimes I was like, yeah, I just want to kind of talk to people today. So yeah, that's why I'm doing lives. I probably actually might even release a post on like my YouTube channel to see like if people are interested, if people like doing the lives and stuff like that, and there's interest for it, I would probably do it more just because, like I said, I do really enjoy doing the lives. So kind of just testing it out, seeing how it goes today, and we'll kind of go from there. But also, yes, Aunt Lynn, everybody, please do hit the like button. I would appreciate it. You can, you know, push to more people. You can get, get a larger group in here, get some discussion going, all that type of stuff. So yeah, please do hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new also, and you like what I have to say. Also, do not listen to Tyler. I'm not a financial advisor. I just purely work basically on, you know, this is my opinion. You can agree, you can disagree. I'm sure there are some of you that will agree with things I say. I'm sure that there are some of you who will disagree with things I say. So, you know, obviously not everything is black and white. Some things you may agree with and some things you might disagree with. You know, we all have our own thoughts and opinions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we got. And then, yeah, Rebecca, appreciate. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Happy to help. If you have any like follow-up questions or stuff, you know, please just let me know. Happy to do it. And yeah, so let's go back to Paul. I wanted to dig into this Ethereum comment a little bit, just because I do think it's kind of funny. And so for anybody who's not like familiar with Ethereum, I want to talk a little bit as to why the market is so bearish on Ethereum, at least from my understanding. I actually went to Permissionless 3 or whatever it was in Salt Lake and back in October. And I feel like there were a lot of people discussing kind of the whole like Ethereum versus Solana. I feel like that's effectively what it's boiled down to at this point. And they were kind of explaining some of the differences as to what the ETH maxis think versus what the Solana maxis think, a lot of that type of stuff. And basically what it boils down to, actually, I'll get rid of this. But basically what it boils down to is there's a lot of people who are taking the investment stance that Ethereum going to layer 2s objectively does not make any sense. And you can like kind of see that from the fundamentals, is because like their revenue's going down. Effectively what was happening is Ethereum was too expensive. And so in order to scale, they needed to make layer 2s. But with layer 2s, obviously the goal of that is to make things less expensive, which conversely means less revenue is being generated to the Ethereum like layer 1 itself, right? So it's kind of like yes, it's doing what's popular with the market, but it's also like a reverse or inverse incentive for what like actually Ethereum and potentially Ethereum investors / holders, I guess I should say, want to do. So that's part of the reason for that. The other thing too is like with Solana, Ethereum's basically taken the stance of, we are going to basically farm out all of our value to these layer 2s. They're going to also kind of like collect a spread in the middle because obviously they need to make money. And then Ethereum will kind of make some money on top of that. Solana's gone the opposite direction, where they're saying, we're not going to make layer 2s. We are going to focus on building the like layer 1 itself to do 1 million transactions per second or something crazy like that. So that way every single amount of like value that is transferred through the Solana ecosystem actually benefits Solana itself. And so from like a fundamental like investor perspective, I think that makes sense, right? Like that seems to me like it's a reasonable argument. However, that argument is kind of based on the premise that we actually will see Solana be able to hit the like tech development milestones that they actually need to. I mean, right now they're sitting between 4,400, 4,500 transactions per second. I think they peaked in like late December at like 4,800 transactions per second. So, I mean, good, right? I mean, much, much better than what most of the rest of the crypto space has seen, except ICP. Shout out ICP fans. But like, that's a lot of what we've seen. You know, even Sui, they're like, oh, we could do 300,000 transactions per second in a tech demo. But like, okay, great, that's fantastic. But like, what can you actually do, right? And that's what really matters. And so basically the ETH maxis argue that, well, Solana just hasn't gotten to the point yet that ETH has already gotten to. And so Solana will get there eventually, and they just haven't figured it out yet. So that's essentially the like stance that ETH maxis are taking, and Solana maxis are saying, I think you're wrong. And that's basically kind of the argument boiled down. So yeah, let's see. Also, I think is it Ivy or is it Ive? I'm going to call you Ivy. If I get it wrong, please correct me. I know that you comment on a lot of my videos and interact with me a lot, so I definitely don't want to be mispronouncing your name. Let's see. Memes are killing me. Pepe, Shib, and Doge. Yeah, I mean, memes are a fickle game to play. It's really hard. I got into Doge like in 2021, right before some of that like ridiculous, kind of blow off top, Elon going on Saturday Night Live, a lot of that type of stuff. I invested a very, very small amount, so I didn't make anything actually cool, right? But I didn't get to buy a Doge wrapped Lambo or anything. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was fun. Since then, we haven't seen a whole lot going on with Doge, unfortunately. But I do think like if we get to see a little bit of like a frothy alt season come around, I think Pepe will do very, very well. I think Doge will do very, very well. Shib also probably will do well. I'm a little bit of a Shib hater, mostly just because I think there's just a fundamental misunderstanding. I think XRP and Shib are kind of the two where people have kind of just like this misunderstanding with market cap. I was actually talking to a coworker friend of mine yesterday, and he was telling me about how his brother-in-law went and bought like 10 million Shib, and he was talking about how when Shib hits $1, he's going to be living large and all this type of stuff. And like people say that a lot. Again, I'm not a Shib hater. I just think like if you actually understand what it would take, and I actually have a video on this, so if you wanna look a little bit further into that, you can check that video out. But basically, if you look into it, I think for Shib to hit $1, it needs like the total market cap needs to hit like 420 trillion or something ridiculous like that. I think the global real estate market the global residential real estate market is like $400 trillion. So basically, you're telling me that Shib is going to be more valuable than the entire global residential real estate market. I don't believe that. So again, that's not to say that Shib's bad. It frustrates me when people kind of pump that like Shib's going to $1 type of narrative, because it's just, they're essentially preying on people's fundamental misunderstanding of market cap. So that's kind of why I try to like educate people a little bit about that. Same thing with XRP. People saying XRP is going to hit $1,000. Same, like if you understand market cap, you will know that is realistically not possible. Again, anything can happen. If you want to fight me and explain to me why XRP can hit $1,000, more than happy to have the conversation. But I think really it's more driven out of just people misunderstanding market cap more than anything. So let's see. Did you see the XCN drama this morning? That thing pumped. I did not see the XCN drama. There's a lot of people who call out XCN to me. But yeah, it's one of those where I've been super, super busy lately. I work in like traditional finance for like my real world job. And this is like the beginning of the year, it's tax season, it's audits, it's 1099s, it's a lot of that type of stuff. So I've been super, super busy. So I really haven't had nearly as much time to do any of like the research that I'd like to do. So I haven't seen that. If you want to comment more on that, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it more. Let's see. Yeah, thank you for tuning in, Antlin. I'm just kind of catching up. Some of these comments are old. Domination, what's popping tonight? Just kind of coming in, hanging out, answering questions. Kind of just yapping about whatever I want to talk about, I guess, and whatever you guys want to talk about as well, and just kind of having some fun. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Let's see. Jose, you'll make more long-term followers this way. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this has nothing to do with crypto. This is more like, I guess, YouTube specific at this point. But like, obviously, I really, really like, and I really appreciate, your guys' time. Obviously, time is the most important thing that you have. And so the fact that you guys, spend all this time kind of listening to me ramble on about, magical internet money is really, really cool. And I definitely don't take that for granted, which is why I try very hard. And I do spend a lot of time trying to read all your guys' comments, give thoughtful replies to questions that are asked, things like that. Cause I do really, really appreciate that you guys, spend all this time listening to me and stuff like that. And so I did want to try this whole live thing because I felt like this could be a good way where I've got more of like a synchronous time to sit and talk to you guys. Obviously, not everybody can be on it, 7:30 Eastern on a Friday night. And so I understand that. And so I do understand like the value of the videos that people can just kind of watch whenever. But I do think having some times where, people can come and tune in is great. And I'll probably try and like set up a couple of different, if I decide to kind of do this a little bit more consistently, I'll probably try and set up a couple of different time slots to, to kind of figure out some good times there. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Let's see. Tyler and you are the crypto goats. I appreciate it. Very much appreciated. I'm still relatively new to the crypto YouTube game. I guess for crypto, I've been in for about 8 years now, but to the crypto YouTube, I just started back in like August. So I've been really encouraged by obviously the growth that I've seen and the positive feedback and a lot of that type of stuff. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun. It's been a lot more fun than I realistically was kind of ever expecting. So yeah, it's a good time. Let's see. Rebecca, one more question I thought of. When something breaks a trend during a bull run, generally, how long does it take to get back into the trend? Really hard to say. Honestly, like very, very hard to say. Let me just take a super quick look. I'll try to keep this thing moving quickly, but let's see if I can take a super quick look on some quick charts that I could see maybe doing this. I think Cardano, I might have seen Cardano have some of this. That is glitched. Let me reload this. Sorry, please hold. I'm gonna try and take a look at this as quickly as I can, but BTCC is being a little bit difficult right now. Also, shameless plug, if you guys are looking for a place to trade, I do have that link to BTCC in the description if you're interested. BTCC, really great. 10% bonus on any of your first time deposits. That's basically just free money, which is really cool. I obviously receive several offers from various exchanges wanting me to, promote this or do that or whatever else. The reason why I stick with BTCC is because they do actually have like that special offer. I love to try and be valuable where I can. And so, the fact that you guys can get effectively a special offer that, at least from my knowledge, you can't really just like go and get. A lot of those, like the $10,000 of deposit bonuses and that type of stuff, you can just get for signing up normally. But the extra 10% I do actually really appreciate. So yeah, kind of a little bit about that. BTCC though, however, at this point in time is not working. So I'm going to check out TradingView and see if I can find that. I may just have to come back to this question though, Rebecca, if I can't find like kind of a quick answer to it. I think Cardano might have some of this though. Let me just like do a super quick. While we're doing that, domination, I love ETH. What happened to it now? Nothing specifically today about ETH, but we're just talking kind of more about how it's performed generally in this bear market, or in this bull market, not bear market. I hope it's not a bear market. Or I guess maybe I do hope it's a bear market, because if it is, then that means the bull market's going to just melt all of our faces, which would be kind of cool. So I don't know. Maybe a jury's out on that one. Yeah, I mean, Rebecca, I'll have to see if I can find like a clear example of this happening in multiple different time periods. But even if you look at like the SUI chart, or I guess I can't right now, but if we refer back to the SUI chart that we were talking about earlier, you could see, I mean, you know, the one right now, if we have like some really bullish news that happens, and let's say crypto pumps 10-15% tomorrow, which can happen. I mean, it's happened before. You know, it's definitely not outside the realm of reason. Maybe we were only outside or have broken the trend line for 2 or 3 days, right? But if we look at that previous one, let me see if I can get back to it. No, it's not going to work. But with that previous trend line, we can say, or we can see how like it took probably 2 or 3 weeks, but after that trend line was broken, we saw some very, very like asymmetric gains on the upside when it did start to move. So something to think about there. But yeah, again, as far as like timing, very, very hard to say for sure. Let's see. Oh, this is my mom. Hi, Mom. Thanks for watching. Oh, night, Tyler. Oh yeah, this is way old. Okay, well, I'm way behind. I gotta gotta speed up. Let's see. I love Soul too. Yeah, I mean, domination. That's exactly where I'm at. I say this kind of now and again in passing, but like me generally, like I'm a crypto fan, and so for me, I just want crypto to win, right? Even though like I'm an XRP hater, or I wouldn't even say I'm an XRP hater. I just don't believe in XRP as hard as a lot of other people do, which is, you know, whatever. But like if XRP goes to like $1 trillion in market cap and completely like fundamentally reworks, you know, cross-border transactions and all this type of stuff like they claim they're going to do, I'm here for it. XRP will have no bigger fan than me. But the thing is like, I just don't really see the value, because if you put all of this in a vacuum and you tell me about XRP right now, I think it's an amazing idea. And I think when XRP came out, amazing idea. The only thing is I think that the market has fundamentally changed, and that we have stable coins. Stable coins basically do XRP. I don't know why you need this intermediary coin to send money when you can just send money now, right? And so that's kind of one of the things where that's kind of my main like counterpoint to XRP. I haven't really seen anybody who has a great like counter to that. Again, if you do, like, maybe I'm just ignorant and you can teach me, and I'm happy to stand corrected whenever. Let's see. Yes, Antlin, Tyler is a TA goat. He like his TA is everything my TA could ever hope and dream to be. Like he does really, really well. And frankly, I mean, I do learn a lot from him. So if any of you guys, I mean, I know Tyler has like an infinitely larger channel than I do, and a lot of you are probably here because of him. But if none of you have heard of Tyler, you should definitely go check him out, especially if you are interested in learning about technical analysis, because he's very good. All right, let's see. Yeah, so this is exactly my concern. So, I mean, of course, you know, I do love to like help kind of shed some light and give you guys some insight on what's going on with the crypto market. But and this is honestly, I really appreciate the comment, Ivy, because you know, this is one of my main concerns. Is I understand that a lot of you guys take what I say seriously, and so it does give me a level of like, I understand like the weight to that, and so I do try very, very hard with like making sure that I'm not, you know, doing sponsored videos of things that I think are illegitimate or scams or things like that. Obviously, you know, I know you guys take that type of stuff seriously. I don't try to, you know, talk too flippantly about anything or say like, you have to go buy this right now today, because ultimately, like, if we're being honest, granted, I've been in the crypto space for, you know, 7 or 8 years. So I do have a pretty decent, like, bit of background. I've seen a lot of things happen, you know, stuff like that. But ultimately, like, I kind of know just about as much as you do with crypto and where it's going, right? I mean, the what's going on, especially, and I guess maybe I should caveat that with especially short term, right? Like if you want me to tell you what Solana's price is going to be tomorrow, I bet any one of your individual guesses is probably as good as mine, just because I don't know, right? But I mean, you know, if we look at longer term and some of the macro events that are happening and a lot of those things, I do think, you know, I'm probably at a little bit of an advantage there just because I've been around for so long. But I want you guys to be very, very clear about the fact that, like, I don't know everything that could ever happen in the world, right? And so, for example, I was not around on YouTube when FTX happened. However, I could see how there was a realistic possibility that FTX, like I could have been an FTX fan, right? And at which point that obviously would have caused me some reputational harm, things like that. People would have hated me and all that type of stuff, which, fair. But at the same time, like, I don't know, right? I mean, I personally was invested in Anchor. I don't know if any of you remember Luna and like the Anchor protocol where you could invest your UST and then you'd essentially earn like 20% yield. It's really cool. It was great while it lasted. But I was involved in UST as well. So, I'm not like this infallible person that can never lose money and like, I can lose money just as well as anybody else. So just be very, very careful. You just need to make sure that, obviously if you want to like, listen to my opinions, that's totally fine, but they're just that, they're my opinions and I could be just as wrong as anybody else. So just make sure to keep that in mind. I understand, kind of the weight of some of the things that I say, but also, just keep that in mind as well. So let's see, Paul, I appreciate it. But again, we'll just rewind that, 5 minutes or so and listen to my rant. All right, let's see. They're sitting on ICP so hard. Yeah. ICP is one I'm so like, this is a really compelling one to me is ICP. Like I'm very interested to see how ICP does kind of longer term. I'm very interested to see like it fundamentally same type of thing. Like if we look at DeFi Llama, they actually have their own like actually here I'm just realized I'm not sharing my screen. If you look at DeFi Llama, ICP has its kind of like its own dashboard that's very similar to this, but it's like their own proprietary dashboard, which is kind of cool. And you can see like by almost every single metric, actually, let's just go check it out. Internet computer, not use case dashboard. Yeah. So, I mean, like if you look like by almost every single metric, it's really, really cool. And it does, pushes through a ton of information. Like their burn mechanism's great. If we look at their cycle burn rate, like, I mean, that's a fantastic chart. Obviously, there's not a whole lot happening. Now we saw kind of like a nice spike in transaction volume and all that type of stuff. And now it's just been kind of a slow and consistent move to the upside. Like amazing. Love to see that. Canisters, very slow but consistent growth. Transactions per second, kind of flat overall. Obviously we've seen spikes here and there. One thing that I'm not sure about, I think I know the answer to this, and I think the answer is this is not a capacity issue. This is like a supply issue. So if there were more people transacting on ICP, this would go up again. So, kind of staying flat from like a transactions per second perspective. But even if you look at like ICP burned, let's actually zoom in on it. Yeah, like that's amazing. That to me is like really, really good sign. So there's a lot of fundamental things that we are seeing with ICP that I really do like. And so, the price action to me is a little bit of a head scratcher. We'll see how that goes. Altcoin Hero. What's up? How's it going? I'm actually going to be doing a collab with Altcoin Hero as well. Did we agree on a time? I think it's like early next week. So if you want to see a video with him as well, I've actually met him at Bitcoin Nashville. So we get along great. I really enjoy like his takes, a lot of that type of stuff. So what's my top altcoin pick? I don't know. Like I think a lot of this is because of just how I invest. I don't think there's ever a situation in which I'd be like, this is the one and I'm going to pick it. I like to be kind of well diversified. So I'll kind of answer your question in my own way, which is giving you a whole spread, because I think any one of them potentially could do well, but I also could see potential issues and risks there. So one that I like is DPEN. Again, this is one I'm not sure that it makes like the most financial sense. I just like it because I'm a fanboy. And again, like I've told you guys before, I just like crypto and I want crypto to be successful. Helium, I'm sure a lot of you, if you've been around since last cycle, you're well aware of Helium. I'm a huge Helium fan because that one is one that is like, that Helium could not exist without crypto, right? And so like those are the types of things to me that are really exciting. And ultimately, I think we'll actually probably find some pretty interesting use case. Helium price is down pretty bad right now because they did get hit with like I think it might have been a Wells notice or maybe some sort of equivalent from the SEC. I'm not super worried about it, to be completely honest, just because I mean, I think the administration that's come in is pretty favorable to cryptos. So I'm pretty I'm not super worried about that. Solana, I think Solana's in a fantastic position. I think Sui's in a fantastic position. Again, I refuse to hold Sui through the bear market just because I'm almost positive what I think is going to happen. But like right now, I mean, the fundamentals are good. It's growing really well. It's got a lot of like hype. It's got a lot of momentum. Things are starting to build out on Sui. There's a lot of optimism, a lot of that type of stuff. Sui's a good one. ICP, I'm really, really bullish. But again, ICP, the price movement has been pretty terrible. So I don't know. I own a lot of ICP. I'll tell you that much. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. So, that's something that those are probably the big ones I would say. I actually am pretty big on like the Bitcoin ecosystem specifically. I've talked about that in a handful of my previous videos. I've got a couple like Bitcoin native, like meme coins, some of that type of stuff. Overall, I'll be completely honest, that has been kind of a flop, just generally, that whole ecosystem, which I'm a little surprised about, but also it's been kind of short term. There's a ton of money. There's a ton of like innovation. There's a ton of building. There's so much going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I think that we'll probably see that change. I don't know for sure though. So that's something I'm thinking about. Those are kind of what I got for top altcoins. We can talk a little bit about that more. Antlin, I'd rather have a million XR. Amen to that. I will say, if you were to say, Cade, I'll give you a million XRP or a million SHIB. Well, one, that's kind of an obvious play because a million XRP is worth like infinitely more than a million SHIB. But even if you said I will give you $1,000 equivalent of both, I probably would still pick XRP anyway. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking there. Welcome back, Tyler. Thanks for coming back. Let's see. I'm not even gonna. You keep baiting me, Tyler. I'm not even gonna show your next comment. That's not even coming up on screen. Ivy, okay. What are your top 3 AI picks? Virtuals, I think will do very well. AI16Z could do well depending on when you get into it. That's one that I think, it kind of depends. There was one I actually saw a little bit earlier that's done pretty well. Actually, I'm not going to talk about it because it may not be like a good buy at this point in time. One thing that I am looking at is like something within the virtuals protocol for sure. Like the game one, let me pull up the virtuals protocol and we can go to the marketplace. Okay. So, and this is very much like a picks and shovels type of play. So it's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be flashy. It's going to be kind of like NVIDIA. Like it's either going to like not really do well, or it's just going to make an unholy amount of money because everything runs off it. And so that's this game. So from what I understand, you can actually see here, like game is kind of like the ecosystem, or I guess like the foundation that basically all the rest of these, not all of them, but like basically all the rest of these run on. And so game is one of those where I'm kind of annoyed because virtuals used to have like it would tell you like the amount of inferences it made. I think they probably got rid of it mostly because like impressions and engagements and top tweets and stuff for people who are not boring like me. They probably thought that like this was a lot more like interesting. But for me, like the number of inferences I actually thought was really cool because you could see what was like actually doing work, right? So for example, like something like AIXBT, it had like a couple hundred, it's probably at this point, maybe it's like over a couple thousand like inferences, but that's because like all it does is it makes an inference whenever it tweets, and that's kind of about it. But like everything else that like all this stuff runs on game. So this has like millions of inferences. So again, like I said, very like picks and shovels like type of play where if it works out and like they monetize game where all these actually have to like pay game and all that type of stuff to like create this stuff, like that to me, I think is where things could get pretty interesting and game could go nuts. Also, same kind of play with like the virtuals protocol overall. I mean, the amount of revenue that virtuals has done is like kind of crazy. And then they also are starting to do like those buybacks and burns, and like they've got some pretty interesting like allocation mechanisms for how like when you create an agent. I thought that was kind of cool. Basically, one of the like TLDR, one of the main things that they changed is if you deploy an AI agent, you actually like 30% of that revenue just like kind of goes to you by default, regardless of how much you own, which is kind of nice because it kind of lets you just like build something and like focus on building it, and maybe like irrespective of your like financial resources, because kind of how it was before is like you had to put up 100 virtuals to like essentially buy into your own project, which is fine. Like I don't think there's a problem there. The thing after that is like I think to like get the maximum share, the maximum allocation of your own virtuals, it was like I think it was like 42,000 virtuals or some like kind of ridiculous number that like I would never do that. I don't like, I want to build an AI agent. I don't want to drop 100K and then build an AI agent. And so I think some of the ways that like they've changed some of their like model, I do actually think makes a lot of sense. So who knows, we'll see if the market agrees or disagrees with me, but I don't know. I think that's something that we could see going pretty well. So yeah, those are my top 3 AI picks. Let's see. Hey, how come institutions' purchases have no influence on the price for over a month now? That's a good question. I don't know. You would think that, and this is where, maybe there's some things going on behind the scenes where potentially we see a supply shock, but the only option is if institutions really are buying in bulk, they gotta be buying from somebody, right? And so maybe we've got some like old Bitcoin whales who are looking to cash out, and that's like a lot of this is just happening OTC. Like that could be the case. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know for sure. It is kind of interesting because we have seen a ridiculous amount of volume coming through institutions, but also we have to think like maybe that same type of institutional like influence and demand, maybe it was just being met a different way, right? Because like there's several people that I know within the crypto industry that they have kind of even said like, I probably personally will sell off some of like my Coinbase and then go buy like the ETF, just because you can run it through like an E-Trade or a TD Ameritrade or some of that type of stuff. So it gives you like a little bit more of like the traditional financial rails that you can keep some of your like net worth on. So I think there could be some of that as well, as we're seeing just kind of crypto native people transition where they're holding some of their crypto. So again, not your keys, not your crypto. I don't necessarily know if I totally agree with that. But again, if you're into, the institution, like having essentially the institutional rails and you value that, then I think that's a pretty good idea. Let's see. There's a ton of time right now, better than watching. Amen to that. Obviously, this is part of the game, and we essentially wade through like an ocean of red candles to find the couple green ones, but usually the green ones are like insane, right? I mean, even if we think back to like November and December, we sat around and basically did nothing from like May to like November, but that time holding it the whole way was like very worthwhile. So, yeah, pretty interesting there. I'll give myself another shameless plug as we kind of continue on through the live stream. If you are enjoying it, please do give me a like. Also, if you're new around here and want to give me a subscribe, that would be fantastic as well. I'm just going to be kind of continuing through chatting about mainly questions. I'm primarily answering questions about what you guys have here. But if we run out of questions or stuff, I'll probably just find something else to ramble about. I spent most of my day sleeping, so I'm here for the ramblings. Lucky. This time of year is very, very busy for me, so I wish I could spend the day sleeping. So let's see. Kimmy, I have a theory that just as Solana tried to kill ICP at launch via SBF FTX, their bears have been deployed again to hold it down. It is very superior tech. Yeah, so the only complaint that I have on ICP, I know they're like, I haven't gotten great data on this. There have been some like very, very heavy ICP supporters who have tried to explain it to me, but I also like, I don't necessarily trust the answer fully, because especially recently I've gone back onto ICP and like they've literally added their own like cost per gig calculator on ICP. And so, to store some of the data, obviously it's very, very cheap if we're talking about like storing it on Ethereum. right? But realistically, nobody stores their data on Ethereum. Nobody even stores their data on Solana, anything like that. They store it on Google Cloud, AWS, all that type of stuff. And so when you look at Ethereum to ICP, vastly superior. When you look at Solana to ICP, vastly superior. When you look at ICP to AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, like vastly inferior, right? And I wouldn't say vastly, but like pretty inferior. I think it's like a lot more. And so, that's something where it's like, obviously decentralization is awesome. Owning your own data, a lot of that type of stuff, super cool. But like, are people willing to pay, a couple orders of magnitude or an order of magnitude more for that? Probably not. I mean, there's going to be a couple people that will, but like mass market, definitely not. Right. And so that's kind of like, that's my only complaint with kind of some of this thinking here, is that like, it is superior in my mind. I completely buy into that, but there are some like hoops to jump over, I think. And also, not even that, this might be a hot take. If anybody here is watching that works with ICP or anything like that, I'm gonna apologize in advance. But like, the marketing for ICP is horrendous, right? Like, you don't see anything really of like value from ICP. If you look at the ICP ecosystem and you're looking for like instructive commentary on what ICP is and what it does, you're probably going to find Jerry Banfield. You're probably going to find what's his name, Fabio. I think it's Zero to Hero, I think is what his name, like his YouTube channel name is. And then maybe you might find me. I feel like I've got pretty good reception with like the ICP community. But like, where's ICP, right? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like they do a really particularly good job marketing. So that's something that I've got a little bit of a frustration with. So I love BTCC. I'm trading on it right now. Yeah, I mean, I really like BTCC. It's a good platform. I really like that they've got those really nice like referral offers, and I also like that they've got the demo trading too. Because if you're just getting into like leverage trading, you want to try and figure it out without wrecking yourself, they got the demo account. Really, really great to just kind of jump in and take it a little bit slow. Aunt Lynn is very, very good at scalping. She's told me about this in the comment section several times. So I'm very, very jealous of her. I'm very bad at scalping. I usually do kind of like those short to midterm like swing trades. Scalping is like, it's a dark art to me. It makes absolutely no sense. So Aunt Lynn, maybe we can get you to come on the channel sometime and you can teach us all how to be good at scalping. I think that'd be cool. All right, let's see. Ivy, I do not want a melted face. Well, I mean, fair, but also it would come with a lot of money. So, pros and cons here. Let's see. What are your thoughts on BTC futures or IBIT options? I think it's fine. I mean, realistically, like a lot of that is kind of like leverage trading, just in a different way. BTC futures are fine. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, BTC futures have been out for like a really long time, just maybe not like through like the traditional markets. IBIT options, totally fine. IBIT options, MicroStrategy. I mean, there's some other like kind of directly or indirectly like leveraged Bitcoin plays. I think a lot of that type of stuff is totally fine. I mean, but also I trade leverage on Bitcoin and all sorts of other things. So, I'm definitely open to that. Rain, let's see. Hey, Cade, what do you see the bottom potentially being on Solana, considering this pullback from 264? Let's take a look. Because, yeah, I mean, Solana's been a little bit of a weird one. It's seen a ridiculous amount of movement. Let's pull this up. Okay, I will share my screen. Let me just do a quick look of some stuff. Okay, cool. So moving on. Okay, so we've got the dailies. I like to look at dailies because, again, I'm like a short to midterm swing trader. So a lot of the stuff that I do, it's like the most instructive at the daily rate. So what we can see here, this is some of like the support and resistances that I have mapped. We can see coming back down to about 240 probably could be something that we could see. We also do have these really strong liquidity zones back here at like the 220 to like 210 mark. So that could be another place. I would probably say if we can't hold here, we're probably coming back down into this liquidity zone. I think, frankly, coming out. So a couple weeks ago, I actually did talk a little bit about this. I took a Solana trade, and I think like at the top I made like 1,000%, but like my leveraged, or not my leverage, but like my mixed gains overall is I think like 770%. Because what I did is I saw that this came out on the daily candle of the Bollinger Bands. Usually when we see things drop out of Bollinger Bands, they come back fairly quickly, right? Not immediately, but they come back fairly quickly. And so I was expecting, I think I actually put my order in like somewhere around here, outside of the Bollinger Band. And I was expecting essentially if I would have dropped below the wick, then I would have actually, I may have even set it lower to here. I think I just set it to the bottom of the wick though, because then it was like essentially this had been broken. Because what I was essentially playing was this was going to wick up like it did back into this liquidity zone, because we did see that this is a super strong liquidity zone here. And then I would come in and try and figure it out from there. From there, though, I saw my first kind of take profit point at here. And so this is where I closed out 50%. And I think I set my stop loss probably somewhere around here. So I was locking in like 150% gain. Then we saw this craziness. And so that's where at the top here when I sold, I think I sold like 270 or something. I missed the like top. But that's when I made like my 1,000% gain. So that was pretty cool. I was happy about that. But looking back on the hour, I still think that a retreat back to this is maybe the most likely, but coming down to here, definitely. So for example, like I'm not particularly interested in trading Solana until we maybe see a bounce here. And then again, kind of like I was talking about earlier on in the video or in the live stream, maybe I would do one of two things. I would take a very, very low leverage long trade that would put my liquidation point at least below here minimum, likely even below here is kind of what I'd be looking for. So we're talking like 2 or 3x maximum. The second option, what I would do, and that would be with like a larger amount of money, of course. And then the second option I would do here is I would probably trade 20, 30, 40, something like that X leverage with a liquidation point. You know, if I could get it kind of like down here, so there's like a comfortable like bit outside of the support zone, I would. Otherwise, it'd probably be like somewhere around here. And essentially, I would trade my leverage to the point at which it could support not getting liquidated before this were to be broken. So that's what I would do. And then essentially, again, it's going to be a much smaller amount of money because I'm trading with like 25x more leverage from like a 2 or 3, right? And so I would do that. It would be a much smaller amount. But again, I'm expecting to lose, or I'm expecting again to make like at minimum probably 100%, but realistically probably like 150 to 200%. That's usually how I do my leverage trading strategies. It's either going to be low enough that it's incredibly unlikely that I get liquidated and I'll come in with a larger amount, or I'll come in with a much, much smaller amount, but it's one of those kind of like all or nothing type of plays. It's either going to zero or it's going to double or triple at minimum. So that's usually how I play those. Yeah, so coming back, that's I guess to TLDR 243, and then kind of this like 228 to like 211 range is kind of what I'd say there. Yeah, you're welcome, Rebecca. You don't believe in XRP, unsubscribing. Hey, you would not believe. I've actually had several people do that. ICP is actually one of the worst. As much as I love ICP, there was this like ICP maxi that I would always fight with in my comment section because I just don't believe in like maxis on anything. I don't care what it is. Just because, again, like I'm a fan of crypto generally. And so I just don't like the tribalism that like the maximalism thinking provides. So yeah, but yeah, you wouldn't believe. I've had a lot of people unsub for me for that. And frankly, whatever, good riddance. I don't really care. Because like I said, you know, I just want crypto to win. So is BTCC allowed in the USA? I just got busted by Margex and had to pull my funds. I haven't heard anything contrary. I'm in the USA. I use it. It's been fine. They do allow KYC as well. So I would imagine like if you got busted, like you could just KYC yourself. But yeah, I mean, I think it's allowed. I've never heard anything that it's not. So yeah, let me know though. Let's see. Antlin, thank you for this. Let me turn this off first. I use YouTube channels to get ideas for new projects. It's my responsibility to read the white paper, etc., and make my own decision. Amen. Amen 100%. That's how I want my YouTube channel to be viewed, and that's how I use other people's YouTube channels as well. Is, you know, I look for ideas. I'm obviously always trying to keep up within the crypto market. But yeah, from there, it's like, you know, I need to look at what's the white paper say? What are some of the tokenomics? How are, who's it backed by? What is the use case? What's a lot of this type of stuff? That is a lot of kind of what we're seeing, or that I do, because I don't know the financial literacy of who I'm taking advice, right? That's why I don't, is because some of these people may have absolutely no clue what they're talking about, and that's obviously not very useful. So let's see. Yeah, I'm too old, I guess, to be anybody's maxi as well, because I want crypto to win. I think it's going to make people and humanity better. And so with that, I want it to win. And so, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I use VPN, but I'm not. That's kind of been my experience as well. So what do I think about AI16Z? Cool. It is cool. I think it's interesting. I think it's got a lot of potential. I kind of like it for a different way from how I like virtuals, because what I will say is about virtuals is it's really cool, but it's all kind of built on the same protocol, right? So if the protocol at the end of the day ends up sucking or not hitting certain levels of innovation or things like that maybe it could, then we've got a problem, because people aren't going to use it, and therefore all of the other AI agents on it are kind of going to be a little bit marked, just by proximity. And so that's what I'm thinking. That's why I kind of like AI16Z, because it's kind of built on an entirely different scheme. And so you're able to kind of bet on AI agents and kind of a larger, because they've got their ELISA I don't know if it's protocol or their bot or whatever, but they're able to kind of build on that kind of larger, you can bet on kind of the larger AI space with using, kind of spreading some of those bets around. I think what we're seeing right now with AI16Z potentially could be what we saw last cycle with NFTs, because not AI16Z, but just AI agents generally, is because AI agents, they are cool, right? Everybody thinks they're cool. Everybody knows they're cool. Everybody can kind of generally understand why they would be useful someday, but we don't really understand or haven't really figured out what or why or how or any of those types of questions. Same thing with NFTs. NFTs are useful. There are real world use cases for NFTs. It's just last cycle, nobody really knew what that was yet. And so we ended up bidding on PFPs and stuff. So I think AI agents are kind of in a very similar situation. So what do you think now, Sui, when they have dipped? Still like it. I mean, price. This is one thing that I also like to tell people as well, is hey, if you have conviction truly in the things that you hold, the price dipping really shouldn't affect too much of how you make decisions. Obviously it can be scary to lose money, and there's kind of a psychological aspect to that as well. But that's why it is so important to do your own research, not as just a legal CYA for myself, but that's why I actually mean it, right? Is because it's if you understand and have conviction in what you hold, then price price movement should be somewhat irrelevant to you, in my opinion. So I still like Sui. Honestly, I kind of wait for dips like this, because when everybody is thinking the world's going to end, that's when I buy. Same thing with Solana. I mean, when Solana was dipping and it broke that liquidity zone, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Solana's broke 170. It was just 260. Solana's a dead coin. It's crazy how fickle people are. It's absolutely wild. But that's when I was buying. And then what did we see? Almost within, what is this, a week's time? The bottom was on the 13th of January. The top was on, I was like, I'll hide that. 90. So in less than a week, it went from a low of 169 to a high of 295. Yet in that week, they were like, oh yeah, Solana's dead for sure. Make it make sense, please. So anyway, same type of thing with Sui, right? I mean, if it's truly and fundamentally, I would say the only caveat I have with Sui though is I do not want to be holding past this bull market, because I do think that the price will get wrecked in the bear market. So there's a little bit more of some playing a little bit of chicken on Sui. What do you think about? Yes, same thoughts on AI16Z. I'll use the 300 Bitcoin curses. I went 3x long when I saw Trump was on Solana. I like picks and shovel plays are fantastic, right? I mean, NVIDIA is probably the best example of picks and shovel plays that has ever existed. AI is awesome. While everybody's speculating on what the cool new AI LLM or agent use function is going to be. AI or Nvidia is just quietly making like a large fortune off of everybody. So yeah, fix and shovel plays are really cool. What do you think about AI16Z is dropping so badly now? How low do you think it can go? Any thoughts on it? I don't know. I have no idea how low it could go. And honestly, like nobody has any idea how low it can go, just because if people knew, then they would wait to get in, right? So let me pull up the chart though, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit. Again, this is kind of where I was talking about a little bit, or like a little while ago, about this being kind of like or AI agents generally being kind of like a glorified tech play, or similar to NFTs, is because nobody really knows, right? Like right now, having like somebody be like a Twitter influencer is like cool. It's like a fun like party trick, but it's not actually like useful, right? Something like Sequoia on virtuals or something, where it's like if potentially let me something like virtuals, or Sequoia on virtuals, where it's like investing and it's like got its own like AI VC and some of that type of stuff. That's cool. That's really cool, and that could potentially drive a ton of value. And so that to me is something that makes a little bit more sense, where you've got some of these like AI agent influencers. Obviously, influencers can monetize their channels and do things like that. So maybe we potentially see some of these AI influencers, monetize their channels somehow. And maybe that kind of goes back to holders, something like that. But ultimately, it's kind of more of like in my opinion, these AI influencers are kind of more of like a party trick than anything else. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. If we look at what we're seeing with AI16Z, we have seen a trend break. It's pretty clear to identify where the trend break is, like right here. So we could see, obviously, following it all the way up, it departs from it a little bit, bounces off, comes right back through, retests it, and comes back down. So from like technically speaking, that does not really look particularly promising, just because like this is a full-on like confirmation of a trend reversal, if you ask me. However, though, actually, I'm not even going to use this. I'm going to use a rectangle for this, because what we can see is this kind of whole area. It's it should at least be very, very clear to see that this is like a high liquidity zone. We've been rejected a whole number of times before we saw that like strong move to the upside here. So obviously tons of liquidity there. We see like, wicks below. We see kind of the, once we see this breakout, we got a little bit of a rejection here, fall back into this zone, another really strong move here. Same type of thing, wick just above it, come back in, kind of follow the bottom of the zone, wick back up. Now we're sitting in it again. So if I would say for AI16Z, the most important thing to see is hold this level. Holding this level, meaning kind of a low of probably somewhere around 73 cents, about 6 cents lower than where we're at currently. Past that, we're probably looking, if I had to guess, probably somewhere in this range. Again, I would probably do another zone rather than a pure line. And again, I can kind of show you where that zone would be. Probably something like this, generally, if I had to guess. So, if we kind of break 74, I would imagine we'd probably move down to kind of the 60 range. But again, we can see a ton of wicks in here. So it's possible that like anywhere in this area could kind of stop, at least again, from the daily perspective. If we went down to hourly, I'm sure we could find better points of support and resistance. But again, I kind of like to keep it longer term, look at stuff like that. That's kind of what we're seeing here. So hopefully that's instructive, Greeting Nation. Let me know if you have any other questions there. I actually just looked at the time. It's been a little bit over an hour, so I'm probably going to wrap it up because I need to go to dinner. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you did, please subscribe if you are new, all that type of fun stuff. Let me know also, did you have fun? Did you like it? Should I keep doing more of these? Should I maybe make like a, kind of like a weekly schedule, some of that type of thing? I'll also probably do a post, on my YouTube channel as well, just so more people can see it. Some of the people that may not have been able to tune in, we can talk a little bit about that. But yeah, overall, thank you guys for tuning in. Really, really appreciate your time and just, really good questions. Hopefully it was useful. Actually, let me stop that. But yeah, hopefully it was useful. I really enjoy just kind of hanging out, talking crypto, doing a lot of this type of fun stuff. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video / next live, a lot of that type of stuff. So yeah, anyway, thanks guys. Let's see.